Hi out there! Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I want to go over what, in my opinion, as an astrologer, from studying astrology for like almost 10 years now, and having read over 100 astrology books, studying the Vedas, the nakshatras, the 27 signs. I'd recommend going and looking at some of the nakshatra videos I did and finding out what nakshatra you are tropically, because I use the tropical system as well. Now, so what zodiac sign is the smartest? So I'm going to go through them all and talk about each one a little bit, and we'll get to what one is the smartest. Okay, so starting with Aries, it's a cardinal sign, and it's fire, and it's ruled by Mars, the god of war. So they are very much like the pioneers, the warriors. They have that spark, and they oftentimes, they're pretty smart, but I'm not going to say they're the smartest, because they're a fire sign, and they, fire, yes, they might have a lot of like inspiration, but it tends to be creative in more of like sports or in a competitive way. Not necessarily, depending on each person's chart, that competitiveness could get, redirected more towards intellectual pursuits depending on their birth chart. But they'll be competitive because Aries is like, they always gotta be number one. And a lot of times they like sports because of that Mars energy. It's very competitive. And so, number two, Taurus, Venus, ruled by Venus, the sign of beauty and harmony. And it's an earth sign, so, very like physical oriented. And it's fixed, so they're stubborn. Very stubborn. Everyone knows Taurus is stubborn, stubborn as a bull, that whole thing. They're smart, but they're not the smartest. Just because, and I'm a Taurus sun, so I can relate to this, is Taurus can have a bit of slowness. And I know on my videos I come off as I'm not slow. I'm quite chatty, and I can fill the airtime. But that's because my moon is Gemini, which brings us to Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. So, the god of communication and talking and the messenger of the gods kind of thing. That's what Mercury is. And Gemini is ruled by that. And it's an air sign. So it's pretty smart. Sigmund Freud was Gemini moon, Taurus sun, I think. Something like that. And he was pretty smart, I think. Right? Everyone knows that air signs are about intellectual pursuits. Like, they're about thinking. And that would apply to all air signs. But not Gemini. Gemini, I wouldn't say it's the smartest, even though it's my moon sign, because they're fickle. Like, they're switching from things to things so often can make learning or like to be an expert in something difficult. So, I don't know if they would be the smartest. Alright, so what's after Gemini? Cancer, right? The emotional one, because they're, ruled by the moon, which is like the emotional mind. So emotional intellect, I would say that they're really, really smart. Really smart. But we're not talking about emotional intellect in this. We're more talking about like in the world, like job-wise and stuff like that. Like like book smarts, like university and mathematics and that type of smart. Although, as like I just put them, they're in different categories. So yeah, all of the water signs are very emotional and would have this very emotional smartness to them. And, you know, Cancer being ruled by the moon, very nurturing. Like, I mean, the moon is the divine mother, so it has a very emotional and nurturing quality about it, like healing quality. But not, I wouldn't say the most intellectually smart, like the most of all of the 12. So what's after Cancer? Leo, right? So, just trying to think about Leo. Leo's pretty smart, I would say. Like, I mean, it's ruled by the sun, and the sun is like, you know, the Holy Father. Like, but I wouldn't say they're the smartest. I mean, the Leos are awesome because they do come off very, like, you know, charismatic. They make the best leaders because, you know, Helio, everyone thinks everything revolves around the sun, right? The heliocentric and all that. Well, Leo's ruled by the sun, so everything kind of revolves around them. But that's like a gift. That's like a blessing. Like, that's not, has nothing to do with intelligence. Virgo, next one, is, you know, it's ruled by Mercury as well. It's an earth sign. So it has a lot of practicality to this knowledge and can actually manifest a lot of the knowledge here on earth. It is ruled by Mercury, so very intelligent. As I said earlier, the messenger of the gods. So literature and reading and learning. Reading, writing, arithmetic, that whole thing. Very Virgo. Like, they're very smart. But they like to help. Like, I mean, like, the whole thing with Virgo is service to others. Like, they are the helper. And it also represents the house of health, right? So, yeah. Really smart sign, but I wouldn't say it's the smartest sign. Libra. You know, it's the scales. They're quite charming. They are very, very smart because they're an air sign as well. But they always look at both sides of everything. You know what I mean? Which, like, I get that because I'm a Gemini moon. I can see two sides too. But it doesn't, but I don't do it in a diplomatic way, in a charming way, like how a Libra would go about it. And they're really smart, like extremely smart. Like, I'd say maybe they'd make the top 4, like they're up there. You know what I mean? But not to say they're number 4. I didn't create a whole list in my mind. I just picked the one that I thought was the smartest. And we're getting to it. Scorpio, water sign. You know, ruled by Mars. So I have that warrior energy. So when it comes to, as I said earlier with Cancer, emotional intellect, then they have that. And they have it in a more controlling way. They're able to control their emotions a lot more so than a Cancer is. Because a Cancer is more like ruled by the moon. Whereas Scorpio is ruled by Mars. But they're both water signs. So, and you know, everyone knows that Scorpio, who knows about astrology, that Scorpio can be manipulative. And it's not just to others, it's to themselves. Like, their emotions, they really can, like, suppress them and have control over them. Like, they got their emotions, like, locked down. Like, most of the time. I mean, like, everyone can go cuckoo bananas sometimes and, like, go crazy and, like, with fights and whatever and arguments. But And when they go cuckoo bananas, it can go pretty bad because they suppress a lot of emotional anger. So I wouldn't say they're the smartest. Sagittarius is like, the philosopher. They always speak their mind, and they love sharing ideas, very spiritual sign, and they really like to explore and travel and see the world. They're all about like travel and like the interconnection that brings people, sharing knowledge. But they also have kind of like because they're ruled by Jupiter, and they're a fire sign, they have that like divine spark that I mentioned earlier with Aries. But I think the aspect of them being ruled by Jupiter would bring them a lot of luck and abundance and joy and happiness, because that's what Jupiter represents. And it's a very happy sign, very benefic sign. But I wouldn't say it's the smartest, just because I personally wouldn't. But spiritually, they would know a lot. Just saying. Capricorn. Well, a lot of people would probably think I'm going to pick Capricorn as the smartest. But no, I'm still not. Capricorn is an earth sign ruled by Saturn. And Saturn is probably why a lot of you thought I would pick it. Because Saturn rules over trials, tribulations, higher knowledge, and learning. So, like universities and chemistry and advanced physics and mathematics, higher learning. But the symbol of Capricorn is represented by the goat with like the tail. And it's not always depicted with the tail, but in most of the ancient or oldest literature that you can find on it, or even on like Egyptian, the Temple of Dendera in Egypt, which is like estimated to be like at least about 3,000 years old, 3,000 years. There's debate on its age, but in Egypt, it was depicted as having a tail. And even today in the books about it, the tail represents that it can be in like the depths. But the goats can climb mountains. So like they're capable of climbing to great heights, and having Saturn gives them the ability to understand the route that they have to climb up the mountain. And yes, they often have a very strong desire of intellectual pursuits and to do well. Oftentimes they feel like things are kind of beating them down, but they often rise to conquer them, like the goat climbing the mountain. But I wouldn't say it's the smartest. So Aquarius. Okay, I would say Aquarius is the smartest of all the signs. All the other signs probably hate that, or saw it coming, because it is an air sign. And air signs, as I mentioned earlier with Gemini and Libra, are intellectual. So they're about mental processes and processes and all that. About the processes that go on in our minds, and thinking about advanced principles and how things work, and like engineers, that kind of thing, like the structure of our world, which often does very, very well because they're also ruled by Saturn, which, as I said, for Capricorn is higher knowledge and learning, trials, tribulations. And Saturn's like the god of time, Chronos. So Aquarius can tend to be very patient. Everyone out there probably knows that Aquarius is like the weirdo sign. So like, or you could say the mad scientist, because they think outside the box. Like they are different. It's like a different kind of energy than almost all the other, than the 11 other signs. And Aquarius probably loves that, because they do have a little bit of an ego complex or a god complex, where they think they're the best. And so they probably love that I picked them as number 1. But I do think that they're the smartest when it comes to the stuff of the mind. So, yeah, I think they do very well in this world. I'll still go over Pisces, because we'll do them in order. But Pisces is really smart too, but an emotional smart. So, like, they can still do really well in the world. Like, I'm not poo-pooing any of the other signs. I just had to pick one, because that's what this video is about. But Pisces are like the chameleon of the zodiac, and they are ruled by Jupiter, for Sagittarius. So they have that happy kind of juvenile energy about them that brings them luck, because that's Jupiter also represents luck and abundance. It's Juno is another. It's the god of wine. Okay, so they don't necessarily take a lot of things too seriously, and hence why I didn't put them as number 1, because they don't have. And everyone's chart is different. Okay, so I'm not saying all Pisces are like don't take things seriously. I'm just saying that they do have a very easygo manner about them, and they kind of just go with the flow of life a little bit. So they might not take the required steps to, like, the mind is a tool that we have to use in order to develop it. And Aquarius knows that, and they would strive every day, most of them, in the good light of Aquarius, to learn and to grow. And I hope that you liked this video and that you agreed with most of my points. I hope I didn't make anyone too angry out there, but I wanted to share some more astrology videos, because I've had a lot of comments lately on videos that I made like years ago or more recently. But a lot of the astrology ones, like when I did this whole series, I did those like all in a row years ago. And they still get lots of views, and like people still watch them, and it still is there to help people, and makes me happy to be able to do that. But a lot of people have been asking like to make more, so this is one of the new ones. So I hope that you give it a thumbs up, share it if you liked it, and subscribe if you're new. And I read all the feedback, so if you leave a comment for like a suggestion for the next one, like what is the most something zodiac sign, or anything else. But if you want me to do an astrology one, then suggest one. But mwah, and bye for now.